I want to say hello and give a big warm welcome to everyone. Welcome to SNHU's Career Day 2025, our free virtual conference open to students, alumni, faculty, and staff from anywhere and everywhere around the globe. We are thrilled to have such a diverse audience with us today. I'm Jill Giambruno Peterson. I'm a career advisor here at Southern New Hampshire University, and I'll be your host for today's session. You may see Daisy Gillum in the chat box. She will be our chat box moderator. She's an employer relations partner here at the university. She's going to be cataloging your questions as they come in so we can get them over to today's panelists. We want to ensure that your experience here is as smooth and enriching as possible. So let's get started with some important announcements. Before we dive into the exciting content lined up for today, please take a moment to familiarize yourself with our virtual conference platform, Teams. You'll find features like live captioning, various written language options for the slides, the ability to move through the slides at your own pace should you wish, and the chat box, which you can open by selecting the chat icon at the top of your screen. We have noticed some issues with the chat box feature in earlier sessions, but it looks like leaving the session and rejoining seems to fix the issue. In the chat box, we've also included some instructions for using the Teams features mentioned. For this session, you may notice that cameras and microphones have been disabled, so everyone can focus on the presenters, the panelists, but we encourage you to actively participate throughout the session. Use the chat to submit your questions for the panelists, and don't miss the opportunity to network with fellow attendees. Your engagement is what makes Career Day dynamic, and the value of the connections you make today cannot be overstated. One great way to do this is by sharing your first name, career area of interest, and the area that you live in, as well as your LinkedIn profile to connect with others. And I am already seeing a lot of that in the chat, which I love. Today's sessions have been recorded, and you'll have access to them post-conference on YouTube. When the recordings are ready, the links will be sent to you via email. So if you miss something or want to revisit a session, you can definitely do so at your own pace. It's also important to remember that due to the sessions being recorded, there is no obligation to have your camera on at any time or to use the chat. Let's create a respectful and inclusive space for everyone. I trust that each of you will contribute to maintaining a positive environment throughout the session. Please be mindful of your language and interactions. Do not share any offensive or highly personal content, and do not photograph, screenshot, or take personal recordings. If you encounter any technical issues or need support during the conference, please don't hesitate to reach out to the IT service desk. Your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is very important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are aspects of this event that present barriers to accessibility, please notify the host as soon as possible. If you require accommodations, please reach out to the respective centers. Online students will reach out to the Online Accessibility Center by emailing oac@snhu.edu or by calling 866-305-9430. Campus students can reach out to the Campus Accessibility Center by emailing cac@snhu.edu or by calling 603-644-3118. And SNHU staff and faculty can reach out to our Human Resources Office by emailing hr@snhu.edu. With that, we've covered the essentials for a smooth and engaging conference experience. Thank you again for joining us for the Ask Us Anything panel. Get ready to be inspired, to learn, and to connect. And now let's learn a little bit more about our panelists. Ryan Chapman has been working at Southern New Hampshire University for 10 years now. He specializes in working with students in the liberal arts space, but is able to connect with any student who may have career-specific thoughts and questions. Ryan is an avid follower of the Boston Celtics, heavy metal music, and horror movies. He currently holds a bachelor degree in English and a master's degree in higher education administration and leadership. Angie Woods is a passionate higher education professional committed to empowering students in their academic and career journeys. As a career advisor, Angie prioritizes understanding each learner's unique path and guiding them toward their aspirations through active listening, meaningful engagement, and personalized support. She finds joy in helping others achieve clarity and fulfillment, believing deeply in education's power to transform lives. Jessica Erb is an experienced career coach and educator with expertise in career advising, workforce management, and professional development. At Southern New Hampshire University, she supports students in navigating career transitions by providing personalized coaching, developing job search strategies, and facilitating workshops on professionalism and workplace skills. With certifications in HR and change management, Jessica specializes in aligning career goals with industry demands, empowering students to succeed in work environments. Her passion lies in helping others build confidence, refine their professional skills, and achieve long term career success. Erica Garcia is a career advisor at SNHU, specializing in the healthcare and nursing vertical, but she also supports students and alumni across all fields as needed. Before joining SNHU, she worked in healthcare tech startups as a health coach in weight care and chronic pain management. Erica is passionate about higher education and enjoys helping individuals achieve their career goals, whether that's advancing in their current field or landing their dream role. And last but certainly not least, we have the fabulous Shaprice Pennington Willis. She is a proud native New Yorker from the Bronx and has been with SNHU for 5 years, starting as an admission counselor and now thriving as a career advisor. Her background includes teaching high school, social work with DCYF and APSW, direct sales, and the airline industry, experiences that enrich her ability to connect with students. Outside of work, she enjoys traveling, TV, and good food with loved ones. Passionate about uplifting others, she finds joy in helping people build confidence and embrace positivity. A proud Capricorn, she brings an upbeat energy wherever she goes. And one of her proudest moments was delivering a TEDx talk at SNHU, encouraging others to let go of negativity and move forward. So real quick, I just want to give a brief overview of our department before we kick off with the questions. So who are we at SNHU Career? We offer free career services to both students and alumni forever, never expires, never goes away. Reach out at any time and we're more than happy to help. We can help with things like career exploration. We can offer career events like the ones going on today. We can help with employer and alumni relations, experiential learning, and networking. So, without further ado, we're going to move on to our panelists. In the chat, feel free to ask us anything. Daisy's going to get those questions over to me, and we're going to kick off. So, panelists, the first question that I have for you all, how do I know if I've said too much or not enough during an interview? Go ahead, Shaprice.
I can take this one. So I like this question because it's definitely something that comes up. And one of the first things that I would say is watch the interviewer's body language. If they avoid eye contact or they yawn, they seem disinterested, then or they shift in their seat, they may be losing focus. So this could be a sign that you're giving too much detail. The other thing that you might want to think about is if you notice that you're being cut off or if you're being rushed. If the interviewer interrupts or moves on quickly, they may already have the information that they need, and that might be a way to let you know that to keep your responses concise and to avoid rambling. Another thing might be pay attention to silence. Sometimes we get a little bit uncomfortable and silence is okay, but you want to make certain that after long pauses, you could respond to indicate that you haven't provided enough information. And if you're unsure, you could say something like, would you like me to elaborate a little bit more on my answer, just to be clear? And then lastly, keep your responses concise. Just make certain that you're getting to the point. Keep it between 1 or 2 minutes and just answer what has been asked, and then you are able to move on.
Fantastic. I love that. Does anybody have anything they want to add? I think Shaprice did a pretty good job covering that one.
Yeah, I can go ahead for that too, a little bit for interviewing there, Jill. I always tell students to kind of be aware of your audience. Like if there's someone who's a bit more business oriented. They might be very bullet point driven, checklists, kind of follow their lead, be more business oriented with them in the conversation. If they're more laid back and easygoing and very bubbly and energetic, show that similar energy level to that person. You don't want to come across as someone who might be a little bit stick in the mud, I like to say, to someone who's a bit bubbly. So trying to kind of follow, read your audience, know your audience when you go into those interviews.
I love that. Awesome. That was great insight. Thank you, Shaprice and Ryan. A question we have from the chat. Looks like one of our learners has been utilizing LinkedIn Learning for gaining certifications and growing their skill set. How are these certifications viewed from an employer's perspective as far as the weight that they carry for potential job applicants?
I can take that one.
Sure, Angie.
So LinkedIn certifications definitely show your initiative and willingness for the skill development in any area that you're looking to grow. I'm not quite sure what your major is or what exactly certifications you're looking to gain through there. I think it's important to note that they do carry less weight than industry recognized certifications. So just keep that in mind. But they are really just a great supplement to any experience that you're looking to gain. So definitely great things to add to resume, your LinkedIn profile as you complete those different certifications and things like that. So.
Great.
Can I add to that one? Because
Sure, Jess.
Angie, that was perfect. And to add on to that, another area of opportunity to look at your LinkedIn Learning certification courses could be as like a gap analysis. When you're looking for job opportunities and you might recognize or identify some gaps in your skill sets, if there's a LinkedIn Learning course that you can achieve, it will add those skills that are related to that course to your profile. And recruiters often tell us that when they're using the platform to identify potential candidates, they are putting in keywords for potential candidates who have a specific skill set. And if you have that keyword, whether it's somewhere in your description or your job description or your summary or the skill section that might even be the result of those LinkedIn Learning courses, it's a great way of ensuring that you increase your visibility.
Mm-hmm. That's an excellent point, Jess. Good, good. All right. We have another question from the chat. How do you find motivation beyond needing money to do all of the hard work required just to get an interview? We know that getting an interview can feel like a marathon and the job search can feel like a full-time job. Erica, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can definitely jump into this one. I definitely say the first one here would be to shift your perspective. See it as an investment. So each application, resume edit, networking conversation isn't just about getting a job. It's building a skill that's going to serve you in the long term. The other thing that can be really helpful here as well is finding your personal why. Again, besides that money, as you're kind of saying, or as you mentioned, what else is kind of driving behind the reason with, like, again, why you're looking for something else, or why you need to, again, be more intentional with those process, or again, the tailoring or again, that yes, the lengthy process that is, finding a job. And then the last thing would be, celebrate the small wins. Again, I know some people get really frustrated when, they get a interview, but then that's all it goes, right? You got an interview. Celebrate that. Celebrate the fact that you did make it that far and then move forward from there. I know it can be really challenging, but we still want to celebrate those small wins so that it doesn't feel overburdening and get that burnout as well.
Mm-hmm. Great points, Erica.
I like to tie in here too a little bit.
Sure.
I like if you find the job search dragging and your eyes are glazing over, you're seeing tunnel vision. Try and make your job search thematic each week, right? So maybe you're looking into accounting one week, then you're looking into business another week for the sectors, so you can kind of do a bit more of a deeper dive on those organizations. The other thing I tell students to do is like when you apply for positions and do the job search all day, every day, you're doing yourself a disservice. Make sure you go out into your community, hang out with your friends, your family, go to shows, do whatever you can that gives you joy and happiness, and things will come along as time goes on better than being behind your computer all day applying for roles and throwing your resume out there.
That's a great point, Ryan. Yeah, I know a lot of times a job search can feel like a full-time job, dedicating 40 plus hours a week to putting in that effort. So finding your why, celebrating the small wins, compartmentalizing can definitely help. Awesome. We have another question. It looks like there's been a little bit of chatter of this in the chat box. This one is about neurodivergence. So somebody wants to know what is the best way to navigate neurodivergences and social anxiety when it comes to interviews?
I'm happy to jump on this one as well.
Sure.
There's definitely a couple of things that definitely come to mind just right off the bat is to prepare in a way that works for you. Neurodivergence can look in a lot of different ways for different people. And so whether that means, uh, like I said, it could look very different for every individual person that has experienced any type of neurodivergence. So prepare in a way that works, whether that means scripts and outlines, mock interviews. We can do that in career services as well, and with a career advisor, bullet points versus full scripts, right? I mean, you can try to take and give and take with what that is as well. Maybe create an interview outline or routine, pre-interview rituals. You want to dress comfortably, or even plan for like a recovery time. And then the other thing, and I know I kind of brought this up earlier too, but reframe the interaction, right? So especially for interviewers, think of it as a two-way street. I know you've probably heard this before, but you're getting interviewed, but you're also interviewing them. So again, that can be really helpful for some of those people when we're thinking about neurodivergence and D and I. Is this a place I would want to work as well? And then use that strength-based language as well. Those are, like I said, those are definitely the first couple things that come to mind. But anybody else can feel free to jump in.
I just wanted to mention I did share in the chat our Career 360 website. Underneath our affinity and identity column, there is a specific section specifically for neurodivergent students. So job searching, some additional resources. That would be great. But those were all great points, Erica, that you made as well.
Definitely. Anybody want to add anything?
I do. I would also say looking for companies who look to hire, because that they already know, they have that sense of what it is. And when you know that you're walking into a place that understands, that can kind of put you a little bit more at ease and help you to feel more comfortable with being who you are and just coming to that interview table as your authentic self and not having to feel that you need to be something or someone else, which can and in some way, shape, or form put you more at ease in what you need to do. And I really just want to emphasize again on what Erica said about being prepared. I think that's a huge key to go in, and doing that can help set you up for a really good interview along the way and whatever it is that you're trying to get and do.
Mm-hmm. Great points. I think the bottom line is that a job search is not a one size fits all approach. Finding what works for you, being kind to yourself, I think were some of those main points. Awesome. Thank you, panelists. Here's kind of a hot topic here. This is a question I know I get a lot from learners. Do you think employers look down on an education that came from a fully online environment?
I'm happy to start with this one. I worked on our campus for many years before coming over to online, and I can also remember when online school was growing, this was a conversation that was happening a lot. I can say in my experience working with employers that the impression and perspective of the online school space has changed dramatically over the last 5 plus years, if maybe 10 plus years. But with SNHU's programs, I will say that employers love SNHU students. And we have so many employers that are knocking on our door looking to recruit SNHU students across the university. And our students here are gaining a great quality a program that aligns with industry skills, and employers recognize that. So from my experience in supporting students and working with employers over the years, SNHU is definitely got a great reputation in the workforce.
think I'll tag in here too. I think being an online student requires a lot of independence and time management, and you're kind of running the show as an online student, right? So those skill sets you've learned as just an online student alone is what employers might be looking for in candidates too, because there's a sense of flexibility, of reliability, all that kind of stuff. And I would say it'd be more of a positive than a negative if you came from an online institution like SNHU.
Hmm. Great points. Anybody else have anything to add there?
I will. We're accredited. So that adds weight. The other piece to that is I look at the commercials that we see. When I have friends who are in California and say, "Oh my gosh, I saw, your place of employment, your school on television," that speaks volumes. We're known. It's not that we're a school that people have not heard of, just as Jess said. And so that carries a lot of weight. And I think just like when you're going on an interview and how you are essentially selling yourself, it's what you put into talking about your school and what you've learned and what you were able to get from it and how you present that in your interview. That is what the employer is going to see. We have valuable deans and valuable instructors and professors who are here that gave us the information that we needed to get the education that is of quality. You have to just make certain that you let that be seen, and it's going to be known when you go in to tell them, I can do the job that you want. My resume, my cover letter, my skill set show that I have what you need, and that's all it takes.
Love that. Yeah, and I think I can speak for everybody here. We wouldn't work here if we weren't proud of the university, if it wasn't a great place to work and to learn. And I know so many of us that work here have degrees from here as well. So shout out to SNHU. We love it. Awesome. So here's another question. What if you're not sure what job position or job title you'd like to move into, but you know you'd like to stay in, say, higher education or any field for that matter? How do you narrow down job titles?
I'm happy to jump in. Um, with this one, there's a couple different steps you could take to get started. One, I would say, is if you know what industry you want to go into, start doing some research by looking up some of those job descriptions. But sometimes it might be more helpful before you start reviewing those job descriptions to always take a quick assessment of your skills and your abilities. When you take that self-assessment to understand your skills, your abilities, your values, and make sure you're aligning that with a position, you know you're always going to be choosing the right career for yourself. And if you're struggling with that self-assessment piece, that's what our career advisors can do with you one-on-one. We do have assessments that can also help you break that down a little bit further. But I do think that's a necessary part of exploring career paths, ensuring that you're finding one that does align with your strengths. And then as you're researching those different career paths within an industry, think about if it's not a career path that you don't know a lot about, reach out to an alumni or a connection you have that works in that position to do an informational interview, or I like to call informational conversation, because it's not meant to feel intimidating. It's really meant to be a conversation to see what that role really entails. How do you get into that field? What's a typical day look like? What are the skills for that role? So that way, as you're hearing about that job, you can determine, do I see myself doing this role? And I've had so many students over the years do this, and either it confirms what they want to do or it confirms it's not what they want to do. And that's exactly what you want. You want to help narrow down that list a little bit further. And I think that's our what I call low risk ways of trying to figure out what might be a fit for you before jumping in and accepting a job, before taking some of those really valuable steps of researching and evaluating.
Hmm. Great points, Jess. Yeah, informational interviews, shadowing, reaching out to your network, all great ways to narrow down what you'd like to do in any particular field. All right. Next question is about artificial intelligence. So we see that AI is growing in its power and reach in the working world. How can we ensure that our resumes get in front of human eyes and isn't thrown aside by a robot?
I can tackle this question. I know AI is scary and crazy, and it comes ever quicker and ever faster. But the best way to get a human eye on that resume is to actually network with those companies you want to interact with. Like get out to people you know, who might be a small tech firm that might have a not big reach in the United States, but doing your best to put your name out there, ask questions to those hiring managers through LinkedIn, phone calls, emails, and so they get to know who you are, and then that they might see that resume over that AI that might be seeing the resume. So I think it ties into the networking piece quite a bit.
I'll add into that. I will add, don't use AI to write your resume. You can use AI to help with getting ideas and to, structure some things, but don't use AI because an employer will know that you're using AI, and that will be a sure way to get an employer not to look at your resume. I know other people on the panel will have some other things to say. I wanted to add that piece to it.
Great points. Awesome. All right, we have a student in the chat who is transitioning from being an administrative assistant, office work, wanting to work in the publishing industry. They want to know what would be the best time to reach out to an employer about internships before graduating. So what would a good time frame look like?
I could tackle this one. I would say if you're looking to kind of look into the internship process, there's two avenues you could take. You could go through. You could usually do an internship for course credit if you wanted to. Also, a lot of students go into internships to build their experience, get to know the right people. And I would say, from a timeline perspective, maybe I would say junior year, but I feel like even sooner the better, in my opinion. Like I've seen students go into internship roles like in their freshman year in a field that interests them, right? So it's really up to what you're comfortable with, what your knowledge base is, and kind of approach it, tackle it that way.
Great point. Yeah, bottom line, the sooner the better. And as we noted before, you can always reach out to our department at any point. It's a lifetime benefit. All right, this question is specifically for Jess, it looks like. So we have a student who is a business administration major looking to transition from driving a truck with their CDL to something in their major. So how would they go about making that transition?
Yeah, I love this question. So, as any career changer, the important step to start off with is identifying your transferable skills. I also want to put a plug in, and maybe if Dana or Daisy, who's in the background, might be able to put this link in there. But we had one of our two of our amazing coworkers do a session earlier today that provided a workbook that you can just walk through, identifying all of your transferable skills from any career path as you're transitioning into any new career path. And it's beautiful and incredibly helpful. So I do recommend using that workbook. But what the workbook will do is really help you figure out what are those key skills, those soft skills, those hard skills that you've developed. And you've gained incredible professional skills in your role as a CDL driver that you can take into lots of different workspaces. And just to put another plug in again, working with one of our career advisors can really help you dig on this a little bit further and identifying that. But as you're looking at your new role that you're looking to go into, identify what skills are needed for that role. And soft skills, as a reminder, are like more like those personality skills like communication, problem solving, critical thinking, professionalism. And those hard skills are more like the technical or language skills that you might be developing. And then thinking about how those relate to the work that you're looking to do next. So first, I would, again, identify the skills that you need for any roles that you're looking to go into. Also identify your transferable skills. Make sure you're including that on your resume. And then a career advisor can help you really transform your resume to ensure that all of the most relevant skills are going to be not only on there, but in a position that will ensure employer will see those skill sets. And then being able to articulate, why you're making this career change. And in addition to the experience you've gained in your role as a CDL driver, all of the incredible experience that you gained from your program here at SNHU and how to articulate a lot of those business skills and knowledge to your resume.
Fantastic. Great points. And I feel like a lot of those points, well, all of those points are applicable across majors for people looking to switch careers. Thanks, Jess. All right, let's see. So we have a question from a graphic design major, but it sounds like this one could be applicable to anybody. this individual is moving to Denver soon, and they want to know how they can go about hopefully getting a work from home position so they can transfer there when they move or for when they get there. So let's talk a little bit more about work from home positions. What are some strategies for getting into remote work?
And tackle this one too. I would say, um, being a graphic designer, you do have quite a bit of flexibility with the work you can do. I'm kind of thinking on like the freelancing space. If you're freelancing somewhere, you could take that freelancing services to another state if you wanted to work with a new client base or get your name out there. So you're always keeping your skills up. You're getting involved in your new community. But also, I always recommend students to go to like if there's any companies that intrigue you in the Denver area, for example, that you find interesting, go to their website and look into their employment section and see if there is remote opportunities within the company. I always feel like you get more of a better taste of what that company is looking for through their main website compared to like an Indeed where you could get all kinds of mixed messaging, so to speak. So I would probably approach it that way, if that makes sense.
I'll add to that, Ryan, too. I think also just other things that you can do would also be, and this could go for really any major, not just graphic design, but looking at gaining remote experience, looking for like freelance or different open source projects to just kind of build that remote work credibility to add to your resume and your LinkedIn profile, things such as that. Of course, networking, looking for virtual events, connect with different professional organizations that may have virtual meetings for different like insights and referrals. And again, like preparing for remote interviews, it is different than your in-person interview. So we have a wonderful Skills First tool, which you can practice 24/7 on that tool, or of course make an appointment with us to do a mock interview, which would be virtual as well. So those are just some other tips that could help. Again, no matter what type of remote role you're looking to gain.
Love that. Thank you. And I will add, all of you are receiving virtual degrees. Well, not virtual degrees, but online education. So you can definitely speak to the remote work of the organization skills, the perseverance, the self-discipline that it takes to receive an entire degree online from your own home as opposed to going to campus. So definitely things that you can speak to in interviews for remote work. Awesome. All right, we have one student who isn't a huge fan of Indeed as a job search platform, and they want to know what are some good job board sites that we can recommend.
So I'd like to know what makes them not like Indeed because I recommend Indeed all the time. I like Monster. I like LinkedIn. I like Handshake, obviously. And those are the ones that I typically will recommend to a lot of my students. One of the things that I always talk about is making certain that you are filtering when you are using any of those job boards. Really make sure that you are narrowing down what you're looking for. A lot of times, what I heard from students when they didn't like a particular job board was something along the lines of, I live in California, but I'm getting jobs in New York. And part of that was because they didn't filter where they were at or maybe what they were looking for. So the system doesn't know that. And so it's going to send you just about anything. The more you give it and the more you tend to it, the more it's going to narrow down what you're looking for. And that will help in what you need to have so that it's just not giving you everything under the sun. So keeping that in mind might help a little bit with that. But the ones that I mentioned were things that were good. And also going directly to companies themselves and looking on their websites to see what type of career opportunities they have. I'm pretty much old school, so I'm always about going directly to the source. I want to see who's hiring, what types of positions do they have. So I'm a caller. I will go there and I will look it up online as well.
Fantastic. So I'm hearing Indeed, Monster, Handshake, of course, directly to the company website. Any others?
I would also say there are sometimes, depending on what field or major that you're exploring career paths, there might be job boards specific to a career path. So the more information we can get, we can recommend some. Like, for example, if you're looking to go in HR, SHRM has a really great job board. If you want to be a business analyst, the International Institute of Business Analysis has a fantastic job board. I would just maybe reach out to a career advisor and share what career path you're looking to go into and see if there's any job boards that they would recommend based on that information.
Great point.
Also,
I would also recommend.
professional. Oh,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry, Angela. I think we were
That's okay.
probably going to say the same thing, though, because I was about to say keep in mind the professional associations in the
Yes.
industries that are
Yep.
popular. So for healthcare, for example, I know we have, like a HEMA if you're in, health information management or public health jobs, right? Like things like that. And Angela, it sounded like you were on the same track, so I'll mute.
Yes. Yep, most definitely. And also on Career 360, if you're not sure what professional organizations exist within your degree area, you can find that information on Career 360. We have lots of different ones, or reach out to us, of course, and we can expand on that list as well.
Awesome. Thanks, panelists. We have another learner in the chat who is dealing with a little bit of anxiety, potentially some imposter syndrome when it comes to interviews and navigating the job search. What are some strategies that you'd recommend to help with those feelings, getting over that anxiety and that imposter syndrome?
I'll start with this. So for me, it's always about mindset. I start off with telling everyone a couple of things. One, you earned your degree. If you have it or you're close to getting it, you've done the work. So if you have your degree, you have it. It's yours and they can't take it away from you. So don't sell yourself short. And if you're in school and you're earning it, you've already taken the classes, you're putting in the work, you're doing all of the things. You do belong at the table. So take that and remind yourself of that. It may seem like it's something that you shouldn't do, but if you have to look yourself in the mirror every day and give yourself words of affirmation to say, I deserve this and I'm great and I'm good, whatever that might mean to you or what words you may use, do that to help give yourself that confidence so that you can go out and be ready to have that interview and to stand up to say, you know what, I belong here and I deserve to have that. I am a huge person of stop selling yourself short. If you meet the qualifications, then you deserve the job. Make certain that you're meeting the qualifications. A lot of times, when you're not reading through the job description or the job requirements and you're just applying and not really looking, and then you don't get responses, that is one of the things that kind of plays in your mind about something's wrong with me. Why am I not getting a call? Well, it's not that there's anything wrong with you. Maybe you just applied to something you didn't qualify for, which doesn't mean that something is bad. It just means you need to find out, what am I qualified to do at this point in time? Remember, when you're applying for a job, apply for a job you're qualified to do if they were going to call you in 5 seconds once you submitted your resume, not what you're going to have in another year or in another month. They're hiring at the moment. So when you keep that in mind, just make certain that you have what they want. If you're doing that, again, build up that confidence by giving yourself some words of affirmation. Ask people, what's great about me? What do you like about me? What am I good at? Get that. If you don't have it from yourself, then seek the people who are around you. And if you don't have someone like that, then talk with your career advisor, talk with your academic advisor. there's someone here that's going to be able to help you with that. And so make certain you've got someone here can help. So find that person and help them let you do that, to see that in yourself so you can take that and move that forward.
Ah, love
I love
that.
it.
I
Is there
want to
time to
step in
add?
really
Oh,
quick.
oh,
Oh,
go ahead. Go ahead, Erica. No, go ahead.
sorry, Jess. All right. There's a quote, and there's definitely some science behind it, but I've definitely always heard, even as a joke, don't speak negatively about yourself. Your brain doesn't know the difference, and the repeated negative messages can still create harmful neural pathways. So you can definitely look up the science behind that if you want. But with that being said, yes, affirmations are extremely important. And then I know I've seen this a lot in the chat there, but the practice can help as well, right? So we have some methods, the STAR methods, things like that, to kind of try to help you stay prepared or be prepared in interview such situations. And then just another trick that I've kind of seen is post interview, like keeping imposter syndrome in check, is write down what went well, even if it's small. Avoid overanalyzing, and then just stay objective as well. So again, even if you weren't selected, how can you improve? Things like that.
Excellent. Jess, did you want to add anything?
I mean, all of it was perfect and beautiful, and I was going to talk about like reframing, and I think that's exactly what Erica was talking about. Is when you recognize some of those negative thoughts coming, and you have to stop it, and recognizing it is so important. And I know that's easier said than done, but it does take practice. And anytime that you can reframe and focus on a positive, like and also thinking through your fears, like what is it that you're actually afraid of? Are you afraid of succeeding? Are you afraid of failing? And having some understanding of some of those fears can help you think through those problems and reframing it. And then, so again, I put another plug in, us career advisors, everyone here has experience helping learners and students, through those anxieties, and we have those strategies, and we can do those with you and walk you through those, so that way we can help you with the coming up the right messaging to get you to be successful.
Love that. Yeah, I think the bottom line is that you have a whole team of cheerleaders here at the university, whether it's your academic advisor, any career advisor here. We're happy to help with a pep talk, interview prep, navigating those tricky feelings around anxiety and imposter syndrome. We're here to help. And another plug, we're a lifetime benefit. Don't forget that. Shaprice, is there something you wanted to add?
I do want to add one other thing,
Yeah.
because just said the word failure, and I always want to say this. Me personally, I never feel that you failed when you've tried. I really want to change that language behind, if it didn't work out, then I failed. And I always say failure is not doing anything at all. That's the failure. But if you tried and it didn't work out, you did something. It just didn't work. So then just try something else and let's see what happens with that. And if that didn't work, then let's try something else and let's just keep trying. That's not failing. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I love that. Ah, great advice, Shaprice. Awesome. So we're almost at time. I have one more quick question. It kind of goes along the lines of what we've been talking about. How do you deal with feeling rejected when you're not selected, either for an interview or after you've interviewed, you're not selected for the job? How do you deal with those feelings of rejection?
I can answer this one. I think comes with the territory. Rejection happens, but you move on to the next, right? And the other thing I tell students as well, or I could tell you, is like if it didn't work out with that company, there might be a reason why it didn't work out. Maybe they're mission statement or the work they do doesn't align with what you thought thought the job would be. It's always a learning opportunity. And also, even if you had a great interview, went through a couple rounds of interviews, you still built a connection with that higher HR person, that manager, that you can add to your LinkedIn connections. So if that person is looking to fill a position more aligned with your qualifications, reach out to them first, right? So I feel like rejection is just a part of the process, but it's not going to happen like every single time. If you feel like it's going to happen every single time, then it's going to happen every single time, right? So it's trying your best to use it as a learning opportunity and move on to the next, and so on and so forth, if that makes sense.
It's a great point, Ryan. Perseverance, getting right back on that horse.
Definitely. I have two things really quickly. One of them I put in the chat. A rejection does not equal proof you're unqualified. It means the job wasn't the right fit. I did that right after I stopped speaking earlier, so I put in the chat. I'll speak up and say it out loud because I definitely feel very strongly about that. The other thing as well to keep in mind, guys, is most HR professionals that are interviewing you are not trying to reject you on purpose. They want you to succeed. They're hoping you're the right fit so they can stop searching as well. So just keep that in mind. I know sometimes it doesn't feel that way, but that is their job, is to find the right fit. And so if and when that happens, they don't want reasons to have to reject you.
Great point, Erica. Angie, do you want to bring us home with this one?
Yeah, just real quick. This is a great point to bring in relationships over resumes sometimes. Don't just think about what you know, but who you know. I think that piece is so valuable, and even like we mentioned, AI and Chat GPT, that one thing that they will never replace is your relationships and that networking piece. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there, build those relationships, take your time as a student, connect with each others, connect with your instructors, connect with us. We're here to help. So
Great point, Angie. Thank you so much. Thank you again to all of our panelists. A big round of applause for all of you. If we didn't get to your question, you can always reach out, send us an email, give us a call. We're happy to help with that personalized one-on-one attention. So please click on the Career Day link in the chat to explore the rest of the sessions that were offered today. And don't forget to fill out the survey that we will email to you after the event to let us know how we did. As a reminder, these sessions are recorded and will be available on the SNHU Career Services YouTube channel in 2 to 3 business days. Again, if you've asked a question in today's session that we weren't able to get to, or if you have additional questions in the future, please reach out to SNHU Career Services. All of our contact information is on the screen in front of you. Lastly, please check out our resources like Career 360 and Handshake to find more SNHU career events in the future. Daisy, I believe, has already included the links in the chat. But thank you again for joining us. This wraps up Career Day 2025. See you all next year, but I know I'll see most of you sooner. All right, thanks everybody. Have a great night.